Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus Three Futures and Commodities Show. My name is Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm here with my partner Barrie Hederachi. How you doing, Barrie?
Doing pretty well. Survived the week.
Yep, and it is Friday, the 15th of September. We're
Mhm,
recording shortly after the close. Yeah, it was an eventful week. A lot of stuff going on that we got to get into. So
mhm.
let's jump into Bitcoin so we don't run too long today and get to the big five and the
Yeah,
major
yeah.
markets.
Mhm,
Well, Bitcoin, Barry, last week you pointed out that, that ABCD
mhm.
that was here,
Right.
and it's not much reaction off of it.
Mhm,
And my experience has been if you don't get much of a reaction, that's a sign of, weakness or strength,
mhm,
depending
mhm,
upon which way the ABC is gone. So I'm still of the very sort of leaning to the bearish side on this.
mhm.
Obviously, we're trapped in this half square,
Exactly.
and we spent a bunch of time, 3 or 4 months over here in the same half square. So until we break out of there, we probably don't see much movement. I just think the weight of the evidence being that we couldn't even really break this trend line
Mhm,
after the ABCD.
mhm.
It's kind of a clue that the downside may have a slightly favorable odds versus upside from here.
Right.
But we'll see. Anything else to add on it?
Not really, man. I mean, we did a false to the downside. Now it looks like we could have potentially done a false break to the upside. So,
Hmm.
here we are. Let's see how it goes.
Sloppy chop.
Sloppy chop. That's exactly
Just
right.
stay away from it.
Not
Let me
much,
throw
not
it.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, let me throw it over to you. I'm gonna commodities today. I'm gonna cover wheat, cotton, coffee, nat gas. Barry every week does the big five, which is ES, bonds, gold, copper, the dollar, and the euro, and crude. So
Mhm.
let me send it over to you. Let's jump in because those markets were very active, and we got things we got to talk about. Man, that resistance zone is really good.
Well, it's definitely a test. And we got right there, right within a
Yeah, within a whisker or two of it.
and that's good enough.
And the
Well, you
strong
saw what
turn,
happened, right? Look at
yeah,
the reaction.
the strong turn down today. We got that lower high. You and I've been talking about it for weeks. We have cycles at the high. We got
Hmm.
lower highs coming in now in NQs and ES. So the setup's there. We got to take out support, obviously, but the setup is there.
That's
So
right.
go ahead. Let me not steal your thunder.
We had this little expanding triangle going on up until today, just
Hmm.
right in here after the new contract came in.
Hmm.
And yes, we did hit the numbers, and we're keeping the same contract. I mean, we're keeping the continuous contract, and we'll still go off of this because I'm thinking if it wasn't the new contract, it would have been off by a little bit, but just somehow, how it works out, we went right up into that
Yep.
with the full premium load on it. So let's see what happens next.
I
It's
mean, we should have
exactly
a discussion sometime about that because isn't it crazy how the market always like works out that extra premium that's put on it doesn't mess up the technicals at all. It just adheres to it in a different way.
it's a different way. That's exactly right. Okay, what I do is I run multiple charts. So I run a continuous chart and also one for that contract.
Hmm.
And exactly right. It'll hit on both, but in different ways.
Yeah. Yep.
And go figure. That's just how one of those mysteries.
It is a mystery.
But getting back to this, it's exactly what you said because this high was, it was the high that we were watching. We called it out, and we had the first sell off, and here's the counter trend, which looks like it came in, five waves, right?
Yep.
One, two, three, four, five.
Yep.
And boy, if this tops here, it's going to be epic because
And
it's
next
just
week we'll know because it should sell off.
well, after we end it, yeah, we shouldn't be messing around too much. It should
Hmm.
just be done with. Still, if you look at the momentum, we're holding both of these trend lines. I mean, we can get all the way down to, 44.50 and still be no problem, right? Another 50 points down, so
Agreed.
completely be intact. Even maybe down to 43.70. So we'll see. But you know what I'm noticing? I'm noticing a lot of distribution patterns in stocks,
That's interesting.
a lot.
You mean in the
And
individual stocks that you
yes,
track, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And normally when that happens, the thing to watch with that is it'll distribute for a while, and then at some point when the time is correct, it'll start to drop. And up until then, it'll just sit there and burn up time and just churn and churn and churn. So I'm watching. Some of them are still distributing, and some of them are starting to break. So something's happening. You can say, there are some signs. This is not accumulation going on. There's a lot of distribution going on. So
that's interesting, Barry, because there's that question about, there were 7 stocks that were holding the index up, and that you could be picking that up in your broader scan where other stocks are distributing and starting to break down, but they're just holding the averages up by using a few of them, like Apple and Microsoft and Nvidia and things like that.
Could be that. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched like 220 stocks, so it's a good cross section of active stocks. So it gives a good sense. And
right.
Today I was looking at it, and I really noticed it. And that's why it came up when I looked at this, because I saw a lot of triangles
right
on these stocks. So it's we'll watch it. Going back to time and patterns, well, we had the high. We were looking for a lower high. We wanted it to come in. Ideally, we want it under the
half square,
the half square high that came in, and we'd want this counter trend to sort of tap out below 45.83, which it did. And all I can say for next week is, long as this high is in place, we'll probably have to focus on the short side. The only other thing is this watches 44.75 for some kind of support, because if you remember, that's exactly where the old contract left off. So, there is something happening there. Let's watch it and see what happens. Because when the September contract came on, you can see, we had the same issue, right? We had the gap right there. And we ran up to 44.75. We stalled up there for a couple of times, high or low, and broke out. So here we are again. If that goes, then I think we can confirm the high, although this sort of outside reversal is also a pretty good way to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And if you look at now that we got a habit of watching the 30-minute.
Right.
Well, this is the chart that we post on Twitter. And, well, every time I say Twitter, I'm reminded to
X.
X, exactly. I should be really going with that.
Right.
So is everybody comfortable with that now? Is it X now?
I think,
right?
But I think there's a lot of people like you and me that still call it Twitter.
Yeah, a little slow on the draw there.
Yeah, yeah.
So post on Twitter, so X, and you can see what happened this week. Basically, we stayed within this block, and we caught the lows, caught the highs up here, and yesterday broke through, came up. It
looks like a fake move, doesn't it?
Fake move. Well, the fake move. What I wanted to see is if we had any timing coming in here, and if we held above this 45.51 area, right? This is the buffer, which it couldn't do. I mean, it was very, very clear. And also you can see we did 90 from low to high, basically from here to here. So 90 bars usually wrap up these kind of moves. So that's the other clue, 90 bars, and we have a, lower high coming in. This is what we talk about, lower high. Well, here's a good example. We
perfect
always talk
example,
about perfect example, right? We stalled, came back down, couldn't do it, sold off.
And then you catch the fast move.
Catch the fast move, and look where it stalled out. Exactly. Yeah, the zone to zone today.
That's right? Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah. Came back down to the zone and exactly stopped there for a few hours. So that was a move. So if you guys want to really watch it closely, then really this is the place to watch. It's really the 4,500 level, and to see if we can get above 45.23. If we can get about this right away, then okay, we can call this just another head fake correction, and we're back. We're going to go up and test these. So 45.23 would be the one to watch if you're really short-term trader. And if we take out 4,500, then 45.50 is just really right the next level. We're probably going to just go step by step.
What's great is you're using a 30-minute square to get that 4,500 level. The harmonic balance point, which is a totally different thing, is at 44.98.
Close enough. Yeah.
I mean, it tells you how key that area is. That zone right there is key.
Yeah. If we lose that, then we're probably going to, get down to here 50 points at a time. Let's say we have places to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. And let's take a look at the weekly. So this is really the chart to watch. You can see how,
The triangle
we,
right
we, we
there.
caught that high exactly within this really perfect 81
Hmm.
cycle that the weekly is running. I
Hmm.
mean, beautiful, right? It's just
Hmm.
beautiful. And went to 7/8, which is really a key termination point. And we came back down. Well, here's the next failure. If it failed here, that would be the
Right.
ticket. So next week, if we take out this week's low, which we're not too far from,
No, we're closing on the lows,
so if we
we're
take
near
that
it.
out, yep, and look where it's right on that 1/8 line, which is
Hmm.
right around 44.90, very close to your number.
Yep.
And so if we take that out, you can see there was some action right there, action here. We had it right there. So there is something to that level. And if we take that out, then I think testing this lower trend line wouldn't be out of the question. And of course, we got bigger support down here at 41, let's say 4,200 area.
You know what's interesting too, Barry? I was just thinking we use all the geometry and we use all these tools and they're fantastic and they do give us a great edge. But if you're just reading the bars, like you just said, if you look at the weekly, if we take out that weekly bar, the counter trend's over, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's you can really dumb it down to just reading the tape, right? Just reading your charts. And it gives you a really good clue as to what's going on.
If people do that, yes, and not get all googly eyed with the fancy indicators and everything.
Exactly, right?
Right.
And you boil it down to a simple thing. Watch this week's low. If we take it out next week, it's a
Mm-hmm.
big signal on the weekly.
Yeah, and you can see it's not something magical, because if you look at this high, weekly high, we took out the low. You see what happened? We had like a whole month of downside.
Yep.
If we take out this low, we take out the high of that. Well, we had about a few months of upside. Well, not few months. We had actually almost a year of upside.
Almost a year.
And if you take the high we had in January, we look at the this bar right there, December 31st bar, take out the low of that, because that was a false break, and then there you go. There's your whole move. And if you just do that, my God, you're going to have a really good system to which way to go.
Right.
Well,
And
here's
you
another
layer,
low, take out the
right.
high, right?
You layer on top of that the squares and the cycles and the timing and things like that. And then you can say to yourself, this is a significant point. Is something significant technically happening?
Exactly.
Like you're pointing out, if we take, we're making a lower high. So if we take out the low of this week's bar, that's significant, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a significant signal. Because I remember one of the filters that you always talk about is the significance of something depends on where you are and how you got there.
Yes.
And here we're at a place where there's a lower high coming in after a significant timing high, on that 81 in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the 81 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And just to be fair, if I just point to every pivot, of course, the high or low that's going to be taken
right,
out,
they'll be
right?
significant, right?
Obviously, right?
Right.
But the way we know which one is by overlaying the squares.
That's correct.
By having the square there, we know down here it was important because it was really we had squared out basically.
Right.
Price and time met there. And so from there, we start watching, just like we did here in real time. You guys can go back and look at as soon as we caught the 81, then we had to affirm that. And then we're watching it straight to the downside. And as soon as the low of that high bar got taken out, it was downside, right? So
Yeah.
you sell the rallies. So that's the difference. I mean, somebody could say, well, if you just go and point to every corner, obviously you're going to have a reversal.
Right. Right.
But the way you don't get trapped in reversals everywhere is by using squares. So you know when a leg is terminated, and then you wait for the square. Right. I mean, for the reversal.
For the reversal,
Yeah,
right. And
exactly.
and now the significance this week, and I'm not trying to belabor it, but I want to make sure people understand it. Barrie caught the high with the 81 week cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
There.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've had the first reaction down, and now we got the first pullback, and we're getting, if we reverse here, it's a lower high. And as you hopefully know by now, if you've been a listener, that's really important.
Right.
The first lower high or the first higher low after
Mm-hmm.
a significant turn puts you in a position to catch that fast move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because
move.
of all those reasons,
Yeah.
this low is important for next week. So I think
Yep.
that's you can't go wrong by watching that. And on the way down, just keep an eye on this area, see if it's going to hold or not. If it doesn't, I mean, it could easily consolidate a little bit.
So what are your most significant levels for next week on the upside resistance and the bottom side support?
It's really 44.75 is really it. If that goes, then we should really, we have about a 100-point drop in the works. Really 43.70 really is the next level. No matter how you look at it, I mean, you can call that's 44.32, but I don't think that's significant enough to hold.
Right.
And
on the upside, you're just
you can
using the
see
half square?
On the upside, well, sure. I mean, upside is 45.85, really the half square. So we have that little zone, a little bit of a buffer there. But you can see where the highs came in was exactly these lows right there where we had it earlier, where the high came in.
Yep.
So all in all, that's basically it. Now, the caveat is, of course, if we hold above 44.75, well, then there's more time to burn. We'll let it happen. And we can play the market as it comes. So 44.75 would be the early warning on it basis daily. But if you want to watch it, really closely, that's why I said if we can't get above 45.23 on a counter trend, then it's pretty weak.
Got it.
On the flip side, if we hold above 45.23, then okay, we're going to probably go up here, burn up a little bit more time. So that's how I look at it. Is that okay? Yeah.
Good analysis on it.
Okay.
I think we made it pretty clear to people that we're at an important spot.
Right. And if you guys like our work, please remember to hit the likes and share. Sharing really helps. And subscribe to the channel.
Yep.
And we might start putting up more than one a week. Well, let us know. How about that?
Right.
If there's a big demand, we'll do that. Otherwise it's maybe just stick with.
Because we talked about doing like a morning call show. I wonder if people give some reaction to that. If we did like a 5-minute back and forth, you and I talking about things in the morning.
Maybe on Twitter, right? Because Twitter, we can do that now.
Yeah.
So maybe do it there. And maybe post it here.
Sure.
Can do both. All right, let's move on to bonds. Pretty much went according to plan. We had that trend line drawn in from last week or a couple of weeks ago. And we were looking on the short side. We went up, tapped it, sold off. It's exactly the same as last week. I think there's more to go. This ABCD would be ideal, but I don't think this, 17.5, this low is going to hold, even though it's a quarter square. If this comes down this time, it's probably going to take that out by some levels. And it might.
And I was just thinking next week we got FOMC.
Well, there you go.
Well,
yeah, well, that'll spike it into this.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. But anyway, we didn't call out a low here yet. So I think there's more.
Right.
And even the 90 was high to high. So it's not much to. Yeah, see, that's where we had it earlier. You can see how we got stuck at the 50%, right?
Yeah.
Lower high, we're back down here. So this is the key level to watch. And we'll deal with that next week. It's fairly easy to call them when they're just trending, man. It's just
it's just ride the wave time.
Yeah, you just ride the wave. It's okay. And weekly, well, this is what gives it a little bit of hope as far as for the downside, because we're looking at, even if we go back down to the lower trend line, that's 16.5 right there. And our big target we've had for a couple of years.
The 144.
The 114, 114 down here. And so we'll see. Like you said, these are weekly charts, so it takes a while to get them moving, and we'll see how it goes. But so far, it's been coming down nicely.
Sure.
And I don't see any big timing points at this point. And 144 really is the number to watch. We have a 180 here.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Look at that.
But it's just, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. 180 and we come back right to it. That doesn't look very confident to me.
No, you'd think you'd get a bigger bounce.
It's it's a little tricky to call that one, but I think it's good to keep in mind. But that low is the key. Are we going to check that low? If we check it at this level, I don't think it's going to hold. I mean, this is just very suspicious. So, and you can quote me on that. It's very suspicious, right? That's just not going to. So even though we have that 180 in here, which is what that what this line is right there, the
Mhm.
dotted line, the quarter line. And so we'll see next week. But for now, yeah, we're kind of focused on the short side. Moving on to crude. Boy, is it performing.
Chugging along, man.
Doing great, man. Some of these oil stocks are like hitting all-time highs. Not
Yeah.
all-time highs, but
Afterburners. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost at a vertical level. So you really got to watch that.
Mhm.
Anyway, the good news is we got to our level, we got to our target,
Yep.
which was 91, and we closed at 91.12. Great. Do we have a whole lot of upside left? Now I'm not so sure. I mean, that was the target. Okay? So we could have more. I mean, now everybody's waking up to the sort of the reality of the situation. You know, we talk about markets that kind of crawl up slowly, right? And well, we have the ABCD up here. We have a 60-degree mark right around 93. So I think after we hit the target, you have to proceed with some caution. That's all I would say. But the upside is, I know this is still fully on. And that trend line, you see, extend that, see what happens.
Probably right there. Yep.
Let me see.
Close.
Tricky. There you go. Close.
I mean, I've got weekly and monthly resistance right in here. So if
Right
it
in
slowed
here,
down,
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to slow down a little bit just because the numbers are there. Okay? So, but anyway, I think upside is still in place, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to just be a little cautious in here
Book some profit.
because we do have a 60 potential square coming up in here. So, and we have been running in 60, so we have that coming up. So I would just be a little cautious. And we had a nice run. Hey, you know, this was a very nice
beautiful.
leg. And if we catch the last bit, great. I mean, that ties into how we're supposed to trade, right? You peel off. So this would be a place where you peel off a lot of it. And this is where you leave the runners in.
Right.
Right. That's the idea. And jumping on to the weekly crude.
And the reason you leave the runner, as we talked about last week, is you never know when it's going to keep going.
Exactly.
We just don't know.
No. We don't know that. Plus we have an ABCD and we have a 97 up here.
Yeah.
And we had the 60 square up here. So we have a little bit of room to go. It's not like, 60 is up at 97. That's where I got the 97. See?
Right.
So, $7 is $7.
Yep.
Of course, we have this trend line here. So, once you get close to the target, you get all these little flashing red lights and yellow lights. So you gotta be cautious. And that's why you leave the runners in and not worry about it. Because you don't want to be, there's no way you're going to analyze it to death and get out exactly at the high. So,
right.
And it wouldn't be worth it.
No.
Take like 2 years out of your life.
Right.
So here we have the weekly, and look at that. Talk about buyers come in, step up to the plate. Look at that. So that's why I say leave a couple in, but also, don't forget to take some profit because we are, at an 8th line. And, this is going now. This is really moving. And this is what we've been talking about for the last God knows how long.
Right.
And it's nice to see it in play. And if you guys haven't seen them, you can just go back any few months and you can see us talking about crude. So we do have a little bit left on the weekly ABCD. So 95, that's right there. Yeah. So probably a little bit more upside, but we caught the meat of the thing coming off this low. So that was the main thing.
Man, look at that check back as it was going up, that check back that week right there.
Yeah. We talked about that last week. Yeah. Just the perfect tap. And the buyers came in, propped it up a little bit. And this week just went all the way.
And last week you were talking about it. Once we cleared that square, there it was.
We're going to go. And we went.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's amazing, man, how much money is flowing into some of these energy and oil related stocks. It's ridiculous. So, something's happening and somebody knows something.
Yep.
We just know this part. So we'll just watch the show. Moving on to gold. We looked like we lost 1940 and then started to slip. And where did it stop? Well, we had this little
right on the trend line. It was perfect.
We had this little triangle drawn up, which is just to see how it's going to exit.
Yep.
And thank God we had that drawn in because, well, it bounced right off of it. And now, obviously, so when that happens, what's it telling us? Well, there's definitely more time to burn off up in
Yep.
here. So
Silver did the same exact thing. Came down to the lower trend line on the triangle on the daily and bounced.
Bounced. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's watch it. And also just remember when that happens, that, you know, if it comes back down and takes out that low, there's probably a trade to the short side. So this is how we have to handle this. But for now, it's within the triangle. It's probably going to tighten up and just don't get hurt in there.
But a big move is coming.
Yeah. There's definitely a big move coming.
Yep.
And here's the weekly. We're holding above 1919 is really the level that we tapped before we bounced up, right? That trend line that we had saw on the daily is really right there. And it's just happens to be 1919, just happens to be there. So, and you can see the box that we had drawn in really kept prices inside of it.
Absolutely.
This entire price. And if you just went off the edges on a shorter time frame, I mean, this is a weekly, so and you would have been okay, especially the 3 weeks down, 2 up, right?
Yeah.
So now it's going to get narrower because of that triangle action, so we have to be careful. Again, you have to know when to take the foot off the throttle.
Yes.
So here's copper.
Same story.
Same story. We're bouncing off, got stuck at the halfway. Man, this 50% line is just something.
Really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
So we just couldn't do it. Thursday, Friday, tap. I really tried this morning, right? And just couldn't do it. So it looks like more consolidation. And I think last week we talked about looking at this like a triangle with the horizontal, the 50% being the horizontal line. And then here's the triangulation here.
Yeah.
So that breakout will be good. Let's watch it. And it's interesting because, you know, we have gold in a triangle. We have copper in a triangle. You said silver was in a triangle.
Yep.
So watch the metals, boys. Yeah.
Yep. They're winding up for something.
Yep. And it's not like you have to catch the first bar out. You know, when these things go, you got plenty of time to wait for the counter trend and get in at a really low risk position. So it's good. We have copper weekly. Kind of a pattern I don't like.
Triangle. All right.
Another triangle and an inside bar. So it's a little tricky. So I would say, hey, you know, you got to watch the low and the high of this week. And, you know, if we take out the high of the week, we're above that halfway square, you know, 50% square on the daily.
On the daily, yeah.
So then we have the upside opens up and that trend line breaks. And if the low gets taken out, well, we're probably going to come back and check the trend line. And boy, I tell you what, though, but if this thing breaks, we're probably going to go straight. Yeah, we're going to go straight to directly to the 90 here. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. Not trading it right now. So,
but it's winding up. It's totally winding up.
It's certainly winding up. Yep. What's really interesting is it came back and it tapped here. That trend line tapped it here, tapped it there. So this is really being held in place. This is, and while it's doing that, we don't want to mess with it too much.
No.
Just let it. I'm talking about held in place. Well, there you go.
That's bad for your financial health. You mess around in there.
Yep. Well, the point needs to be running, not napping. So anyway, well, here's the dollar. Another one we've been totally bullish about.
Chugging along.
And if you guys are watching us, so we've been, we've been long the dollar, and so be it. But now we're getting right up into the 72 here. Yep. And we had price and time here. It's it's time to back off a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is exactly where, like all through here, we're not really, we didn't have any timing points. You know what I mean? Like after we got out of the 50%, we're just moving.
Yep.
And even if I put the square here, we're just moving. Now we're getting up into, well, what is stalled here, it's stalled here, stalled here. So it's a significant spot. And this is where you want to, cover your stuff and leave a couple of runners in and wait for the next opportunity to set up, because the long side risk is getting a little too high.
Right.
In my opinion, because, and once we clear this, fine, we settle on top of that.
Yeah, you settle on top. It's a different ballgame.
We have another run. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just the way we look at the charts, right, Ben? So it just makes sense to look at it like that. And if we were to base all that on the weekly, we have a little bit more to go. We have 106. Let's say 106 rounded off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's but in that area. So, and this vertical, we know that's not going to keep up for too long without another correction. So,
right.
So we're going to have to correct at some point.
How many weeks in a row is the dollar up? Like 8 or 9?
It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 9 and 10 weeks here.
Wow.
That's a decent run.
Yeah.
So 11th week is the one you got to watch, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Watch next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Next week could be a turn.
Yeah, it's getting close. So you guys have to just kind of throttle back a little bit.
And keep your eyes open.
Yeah, yeah. And if we take out this 106, 105 and some change. So here on the daily, it's 105, let's say 75. And 106 was the number on the weekly, which is right in there. So you see, it's not, I don't know if it's worth any kind of a grand risk, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're long from quite a ways away, then you're okay. Pull up the stops and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if there's an ABCD here, but
no, I don't think so.
I don't want to force the issue either, but you don't want to get creative with ABCD. You want to, right? You just want to take the one that's,
yeah.
Well, there it is.
It's not bad. It's up right at your full square.
Right at the full square. It just seemed like it was there. Okay, so let's go with that. I'll just leave
good
it
target.
There. Yeah, it's a decent target. Well, I only the reason I put that was I was looking at this, and I leave these on just to remind us. Remind me
how it finishes.
Yeah, and to look for those. Right. I mean, if a tool is not on the screen, then you have to think about all the tools. I mean, look at all the tools we have here. About 50 tools.
Right. Right.
There's no way to go through all of them. All right, let's move on to
Euro, which
there we go.
Can't get up.
Nope, and it slipped through, so it's weaker than we imagined. We had that ABCD drawn out, bounced off of the quarter line. It's 7/8. It's weak. I'll take this one out because it's just weak not there. So it's the same story, guys. We had this marked. And we were talking about this 144. If it gets under it, so got under it, came back, tapped it here, sold off. Then we were looking at the 7/8 line, tapped it there this week, sold off. So, and we had the trend line. It's very far from the trend line. Even if we correct it, we'll have to, it's going to burn some time. So basically, I think taking short trades are okay for now. But watch the dollar. We know where the levels are. 106 is really the level, sort of the corresponding level for the euro. So we'll just keep it at that. Looking at the weekly euro. There we go. Well, we do have a time count. 792 bars. That's a lot of weeks.
Yeah. I
mean, we're coming all the way from 2008 high. That's
right.
Anyway, there's really nothing to do on the weekly. We're on the short side till we get to at least 104. So, and he broke this, I had this trend line drawn in a couple of weeks ago. You remember this?
Yeah, couldn't hold it.
No, couldn't hold it. We took it down. So
still weak.
It's still weak. Yeah. And look what capped it, right? That equal move here. Really quiet, kind of hidden, but it took care of it. And that's all I got. Put it back to you. We can.
Excellent.
All right. Very good. Well, we got triangles everywhere, Ben.
It is Triangle City, my friend. The key thing, right? The key thing here that I'm looking at is, we again, just like the ES, we got a lower high in place. We had a high that came in with timing and cycles in this area. We've had the counter trend. You could even say it's like you were talking about the 5 waves up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we get a sharp reversal today. We closed below the full square. And look at the harmonic balance point, where the low was today.
Exactly.
Right on it. So again, if this is what we think is possible, given the evidence that we have, we should see sell-off, pretty strong sell-off next week. If it doesn't, if it can stay on top of the harmonic balance point or stay on top of this trend line, maybe we grind into the apex of this triangle even tighter. But the weight of the evidence right now is pointing to, we tried two times to take out this initial high that we got there and failed.
Right.
We reversed after that one, tried again, reversed hard today. So it's looking weak. We know the levels, right? If we can get above this 15,570 area and sit on top of that, then the danger's gone.
Mm-hmm.
If we lose the harmonic balance point, we know that's not good. And then the half square down here is really important,
Right.
which is around 14,950.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the areas we're going to watch. Anything else to add on this?
Well, I think we have a lot of levels to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. Just let's basically today's high and low.
Yes, and here's the weekly view too, which is a little more ominous.
There
Right,
you
because
go.
this is the all-time high.
Mm,
This was the lower high. This is the reaction, and we failed. We're failing at the half square.
right.
So it's all set up to be downside friendly. We'll just see
Mm-hmm.
if the market takes out the levels that we know. Then we'll know what to do. All right, commodity side. I've got two charts to show you where there are nascent bottoms being put in, and then the two charts will show you where we've got big bases, just like crude was a month or so ago before it started rallying. So let's start with the nascent bottoms. This is one I tweeted out or X'd
Mm-hmm.
out, I guess you'd say. Um, this week, last couple days, talking about wheat. What wheat has done, right? We had this low, we had a nice move up off of it, false break here, and then we came back down, tested the lows, and did a false break here. And Barrie and I were talking in the middle of the week. I said, "Hey, man, we got a false break on a full square.
Yep.
And if we get a reversal tomorrow, it's worth looking at." Well, we reversed. And I want to show you on a lower time frame, because someone said, "Oh, we'll buy it at this price or that price." I said, "Well, the next step we want to see is something on a 4 hour where we get kind of a higher low." And look what we got here on a 4 hour. This was interesting. I had this Gartley in here.
Mm-hmm.
Look at where this false break low came in, right on the equilibrium line.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it's just anywhere in space you'd expect it, and there it is. So
Yeah.
that was just an added bonus. But here was the false break low, right? Like, 'cause here's the low, and then we took it out with this false break. Big move, big reaction off of it on a 4 hour. Here's your first pullback, higher low, and then today we get the reversal.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 hour is now in a position where it's looking decently bullish, right? Because we've got a low, a high, higher low, higher high. That's the requirements for an uptrend. Right.
Yep.
Now let's go back to the daily, and you can see what it looks like on the daily. So see, it's not as dramatic here, right? Because we're just basically, we did one up bar, down bar, and then we just reversed right back up today. So here we want to see this high get taken out, because that would give us the previous high, low, higher low here, and then we take out that'll give us a higher high. And I also like to see it get above that 635, because that's the harmonic balance point for here.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see how it's acted in the past, right? Sort of kept price down here, kept price up here, and once it got stuck below, we drifted down. So I like that. There's another thing I wanted to show you on the weekly. False break here.
Wow.
Close
That's
near the
important.
high. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
close near the high. And it was on support on that full square. And you can see why this full square is so important. You got to go back to like 2019, 2018. Look at where all the highs were.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty important spot. So all in all, it's green shoots. It's creating something that we should watch and pay attention to, because we may have gotten a low here in on wheat on this false break. What see you when you look at wheat here, Barrie?
I say we proceed with caution.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
good. Yeah. I mean, we have to take the trades as it moves up. I mean, this is the point. We have false breaks. We have everything lined up. And I think we take it one thing at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me show you another one, which is similar in that it's very early, but it's doing things that say, hey, we need to pay attention here.
Mhm.
Coffee. Look at that bar today.
Yeah.
It took
Right
out
in
like
line.
it took it right to the harmonic balance point, of course. But look, it took out basically almost a month's worth of price action in this one bar, right? All this action was in this little box, and we closed like right at the top of the box. So what am I seeing in this chart? We had this low come in, nice reaction off of it, just like wheat, right? And then it started drifting down again, got stuck under
Right.
the half square. And now we came down and we put this low in, which is, we don't have the false break like we do in wheat, but we got a higher low here to here. And then here we got another higher low on the full square. And then this move was the thing that really got my attention today. That's a big move. I don't know why. I don't know if there was new news or anything, but it to me it looks like something changed in perceptions to
Right.
cause this.
Hmm.
And let's go look at the weekly and the monthly as well.
Well, this is what you get off of a higher low.
Yeah. So here
Hmm.
we don't quite, because these were inside bars, we don't have the outside reversal by definition, and we missed the low by a dime. But again, we took out 1, 2, 3, basically a month's worth of price action with today's bar to the upside. And that's what I was showing you on the daily. I mean, that again, on a weekly basis, that's a significant bar. So what do we look for next week? Can we build off of it? Can we make it, can we push up and get another higher weekly bar? That would show that, okay, that wasn't just a fluke, but there's some real buying interest coming in here.
Hmm.
On the monthly, look at where support came in. Right on that half square.
Yep.
And again, sitting on top, a lot like week, sitting on top of all this price action from 2017 to 2021 before the breakout.
Hmm.
This whole structure is acting as support here, last year and then this year. So we want to see that move up. And, obviously, if we take out the monthly highs, then we get that reversal, a monthly reversal, a weekly reversal, a daily reversal. It all sort of comes together. I know this is a little earlier than you like for your taste, but what's your perspective on the coffee chart?
Well, I think this is what we wait for. We wait for these things to start moving, give us all the signs, and well, we have them now. Now we can look to the long side.
I agree.
I think the waiting is over, basically. Waiting for the long side.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to take a stab somewhere, so this is where you start.
That's correct.
And if we can't get above 161 and whatnot, and fail, well, we wait.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, it looks good. Looks like we're on to a good start. So
Yeah. So something woke up in coffee today. Now let's go to the bigger bases.
and wheat, it's interesting. Coffee
Yeah,
and wheat, two
coffee
things
and
that
wheat.
everybody's consuming. So,
Yes, for sure.
yeah.
Why do I want to show cotton? What's the development here? The trend line's holding. Quiet week, sort of an inside week. But the key thing here is, again, we're the pullback is sitting on top of most of this price action from this month-long consolidation. To me, it's just a matter of time. It's definitely being bought, and it's definitely being bid at better prices on pullbacks. So we're above the harmonic balance point, which I really like, because it gives it bullish impetus. Since it cleared this thing here, it's kind of stayed above that, which is nice price action to see. And again, I think big bases lead to big breakouts. I'll keep pointing to crude as an example. Look at crude, look at the base, look at how it frustrated people. We were bullish on it. We called the low on crude, and then we were bullish during the consolidation, and we waited for the right move. Here, the right move was to break out, and we broke out, and we've pulled back. The next important level is clearing this half square, and then this thing's off to the races. So I remain bullish on cotton. I know I sound like a broken record. Anything differently you want to add to this, to cotton?
Well, we're just pointing the finger, we're just pointing at the setup. I mean, we have this huge base setting up after a very rapid drop, and these set up really well for future moves. So it's setting up, and just like everything else, we have to patiently wait for setups, and you can see this is crawling up, higher lows. So I think that half square would be the magic.
It is. It's the spot for sure. Because once we clear that, then we're sitting on top of this entire consolidation. And that's really bullish. And now let's end with the old Widowmaker, which has been very, very docile lately. Nat gas. Now, why am I showing nat gas? Similar to cotton, it's violently sideways, but it's got a pattern where we're seeing accumulation come in at higher levels. And it's really tightening up here now, because you got this full square on the top, which is around 282, that's squeezing, that it's having trouble getting through that. And yet the buy side, the buys are coming in at higher levels, as you can see. So this, to me, we've broken the downtrend line, not mainly by price, but mainly because we burnt off time. Again, I don't know what the catalyst is going to be. I don't know exactly when it's going to be, but I know the catalyst and some reason and excuse is coming that this thing's going to fly. The most important thing is that we clear this 282 level, the full square, because again, just like we were talking about cotton, once we clear it, sit on top of it, this entire consolidation will be support. And that'll be the sort of the ballistics that allows you to fire this thing and have it be a really nice shot. Any other insight to add on nat gas?
Well, just to say that we have, if you connect those three highs, we have a little triangle set. Yeah, right there. We have a little triangle setting up, and the break of that should be, that should be the starting point, I would think, because we've burnt enough time on this, and we haven't had a lot of false breaks. Not false break as in the false break pattern, but false breaks out of this bigger pattern. So this would be it'd be the first one really developing. So
the other thing I wanted to tell everyone is from this February low to right there, 144 days.
Very good.
So we've done 144 days.
You could have burned out the time then.
Yeah, in this correction, and it's occurring at the same time as we're jamming into the apex of the triangle. So the time for movement may be coming soon. But that's all I got in commodities. We talked about the metals are all in triangles. Crude, you did a good review on that. We're near resistance there. Very bullish pattern, but near resistance. Corn and beans are still trying to set up. Sugar and cocoa are in the process of putting in tops. So, in terms of the commodities, the four that we covered today are the things to look at. So I'm going to be focusing on these four in the coming week, along with, very importantly, the ES and the NQs, because I think, we're going to get some really good information this week on whether the setup for a big fall actually comes to fruition, or is it going to be more winding up and more chop? What about you, Barrie? What are you going to focus on?
Well, it'll be the S&P, it'll be crude, and the bonds and the dollar. Those are really the main things. And of course, we got wheat happening, we got natural gas happening, coffee. I think those are really it. I mean, the ones we normally cover and you bring up are really the ones worthwhile watching.
Yeah, the other ones are still, they're not ready, right? And that's one of the things we try to do, is not just review all the commodities, because, as Barrie always says, most of the time commodities aren't moving. They're consolidating, they're chopping, they're triangulating, and we're trying to help identify the ones that are in a position, that where there's some advanced probability or enhanced probability of them actually, moving into a fast move phase. So we'll see. Rest up, everybody. I do not think it's going to be a boring week with the Fed on tap and the setups that are in a lot of the major markets. So great job today, Barrie, and we'll talk to everyone next week.
Thanks, Ben. Everybody have a good week. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.